All right, looks like we better get started. Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to this event. It's quite the honor being here, realizing what's going on around us with the Greg Standard, with a legacy park being named after him. It's just beyond belief that this will be here for everyone to enjoy through the years. I am Dan Jenks. I was a friend of Greg, friend of the family, chief of police. You're probably wondering why would they have a cop here for something like this? Same here. I was wondering the same thing. But really, Greg was a really good friend of the police department. He was such an active community member. He cared so much. He always engaged our officers, the new people, much like he did with all of us. Like, he had this draw to him. He just lit up the room. We all are connected through Greg somehow. It's just amazing how many people he impacted. Greg graduated from our Citizens Academy. He always talked, kind of joked about like being on this side, the blue side. I think sometimes when I can't beat him, I'll join him philosophy. Greg was just such an important piece of the puzzle for me. He did so much for our new officers. He'd see an officer gassing a squad, he'd go up and introduce himself, make small talk. He was always there to help. Instead of feeling like you're on the outside, lots of times cops do, Greg just brought you right in the fold. Just like all you guys. I mean, none of us were strangers if Greg was around. He talked to all of us. He'd make us all feel like we're part of something. Greg in 2017 was at home on Garden Avenue. He hears this disturbance outside. He just, like, what's going on? He looks out, he sees another guy attacking someone. He took it upon himself, put himself in danger, because it turns out the guy had a screwdriver in his pocket. Went out there, he tried to calm down the guy that was attacking another person in front of his house.
In front of his house.
Greg just suddenly grabbed the guy, realized it wasn't going anywhere, afraid that someone else was going to get hurt. He grabs the subject, pulls him down, the cops get there, the guy gets arrested. Because of Greg's actions then, we awarded him our first ever Citizen of the Year award. And he was just, delighted. He came to our banquet. In 2022, then Sergeant Pat Frisch recommended to the city that we change the award to be named after Greg in his honor. Since he was the first on the plaque, this will be displayed in our lobby, and it's now called the Greg Standard Outstanding Citizen Award. So you can see Greg's right on number one. He always will be. But we're so proud to have that. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce both Mayor Tim Swadley and, of course, Martian Glenn. Mayor Swadley?
Sure, and I'll be brief. And it looks like Greg provided the light show for us today. So thank you all for being here. I have to say this is the largest group I've ever seen in Stoughton for a park dedication. And obviously, Greg meant a lot to all of you, so thank you for being here. I met Greg at the Citizens Police Academy shortly after I was elected as mayor. I decided to take the class, and Greg was one of the first people to come up and say, welcome, I look forward to going through the class with you and getting to know you and my wife, Lori, so I always appreciated that. And then after class, we graduated. Whenever I was at a place and Greg was there, he always went out of his way to come up and say hi to me, and that really meant a lot to me. That's just the type of person he was, and it says a lot for the way he was raised by his family. So once again, thank you for being here, and I'll turn it over to Marcia.
I'm stuck.
All right.
For those that don't know, I'm Marcia, his mom. I want to start by saying a huge, heartfelt thank you to Adam Vogt for having the idea of naming a park for Greg. We are so incredibly touched and humbled by the overwhelming response. We would also like to thank the city of Stoughton for honoring him. Here at this park, we will always be reminded that despite the fact that Greg is no longer with us physically, he lived a special life and gave us all love and memories and lessons too beautiful to forget. From the time Greg was little, he loved to meet and talk with complete strangers. He never quite grasped the stranger danger thing. He was able to make friends wherever he went, including when he was 2.5 years old and left our blanket at the fireworks and sat with strangers. Or when he was at the gas station, Quick Trip, his favorite, he met all kinds of people. If he got to know you, you were his friend, and you were his friend for life. If you ever grocery shopped with Greg, you would know exactly what I'm talking about, because it took hours to get through the store because he knew everybody and he had to talk to everybody. He was able to bring people together and create a bond of friendship no matter who it was or what they had in common. Greg had a caring heart and the ability to see when someone was struggling. He always would figure out a way to help, whether that meant food, money, help with a car, clothes for a child, or time to just listen. He believed in the best of people, sometimes to a fault. He trusted even when people around him said, "Don't trust." When people failed him, he still was kind and would chalk that experience up to a lesson learned. I can think of very few people that Greg didn't like. If he didn't like you, you probably hurt his family in some way. Shortly after graduating from high school, he saved a man's life at the Jefferson Car and Swap Show by recognizing an emergency and performing CPR on a man until the paramedics arrived. He continually put himself forward and preached to us situational awareness at all times. Be ready for anything. That was Greg. Greg had a wicked sense of humor. Seriously, a really funny guy. I mean, really, can I have a show of hands of anyone that saw his baby picture that he carried in his wallet? Yeah, he was really proud of that one. He had a wildly quick wit. He photobombed like a pro. He taught us to never, ever, ever smell a cupcake. He had the best giggle and an absolutely amazing grin. He always made us laugh, and our memories and our pictures remind us of that often. Greg was a huge kid at heart. The stories we could tell you, some you wouldn't believe. Oh, and he loved cheeseburgers. He loved food and having family around. Greg had a passion for cars and collected them as much as he worked on them. He started with Hot Wheels and then moved on to collecting both Hot Wheels and real cars. There were times he bought and sold the same car 2 or 3 times. It's true. He loved his Monte Carlo. We have a picture of him hugging his nitrous bottle with a huge grin on the day it arrived for that Monte Carlo. He was torn when he sold it, but he wanted a lighter, faster car. So he bought his Malibu. His goal was to be faster and win more drag races. Greg's most important and biggest passion was his family. He fiercely and believed so fully in his children. He was a proud dad. He loved and honored his dad and I, and always took care of us. His goal was to make sure we were okay. He checked in every day, several times a day. He was protective and giving, and you always knew his love and heart. He often tormented his sisters, especially during family pictures. Pig noses. And by the way, please raise your hand if you knew Greg had 2 sisters. He teased and stuck wet fingers in your ears and told inappropriate jokes. We all laughed at him because his antics were great. I told his kids when he passed that he left us with all the tools we needed to survive this indescribable, unbelievable loss. Greg left us with great memories and a strong legacy to follow of kindness, fairness, respect, love, caring, and giving. He would be embarrassed at the attention today, thus the ring, because he was a humble guy, but he also would be so incredibly honored to have a park named after him in the town he loved, and to know that he made a difference in this world. We will miss him forever, and we will always be proud of the person that he was. Our wish for this park, the community that raised him, and those who loved him, is that this park will forever provide a space for laughter, joy, and fun, as well as a place for people to find a friend and a smile when they need it the most. Welcome to Greg Standard Legacy Park.